Hello friends and welcome at my channel. Today I would like to prove a pretty nice inequality or a combination of inequalities involving sine x and x cubed. So x minus x cubed divided by 6 is less than the sine of x, and this is less than x for positive x values. Okay, we're going to prove it in two steps. Step number one, we are going to start with sine x is less than x. How can we do this? Well, you know, by the definition, the cosine of alpha is between 0 and 1, right? So basically, I can rewrite a sine of t equals to an integral from 0 to t of cosine z dz, right? Sure. I mean, the original function of cosine is a sine, so that would be a sine of z between 0 and t. And as you can see, if I'm putting 0 is getting 0, if I'm putting t, this is t, so that's fine. But now let's see the following trick. If I consider the cosine, which is at the highest value at 1, and if I consider the function of 1 itself, obviously the area which is being included between 1 and the x-axis or cosine of x and the x-axis, the area between 1 and the x-axis is greater, obviously, by, well, approximately this amount, right? So that's why I can estimate this integral and write it is less than 0 to t, just dt or 1 dz, sorry, 1 dz. Right? So 1 is greater than cosine, and if we're going over the one of the intervals where cosine is always less, the area cannot be bigger. So obviously this is t, and this is how we proved sine of t is less than t. So this one is check. All right, let's move to the second one. In order to prove the second one, we start with the following idea. 1 minus cosine of z, it can be written as integral from 0 to z sine t dt. Is that correct? Well, let's see. What is the original function of the sine? It's a minus cosine. So we have a minus cosine of t from 0 to z. And as you can see, we can take a minus out. We got cosine of z minus cosine of 0. Cosine of 0 is 1. So we're going to get minus cosine z minus 1, or just 1 minus cosine of z, and that would be it. All right, so that's correct. I can write it this way, right? So let's start again. 1 minus cosine of z can be written as integral 0 to z sine of t dt, and that is less, right? By the same argument we previously had, well, we proved that sine of t is less than t, then from 0 to z t dt, which is t squared divided by 2. Or, yeah, I mean, that's fine. From 0 to z, and if I put 0 inside, it's going to be z squared divided by 2. Do I have to say something about x and z and t and all that kind of stuff? Yes, I do. I would say 0 less than t, less than z, and less than x. This is how we are taking it. Okay, just in order to make it fit somehow. I mean, I have to, well, obviously I'm only interested in x values greater than 0, so it's all about that. Okay, so we now have this one. So basically what we know is that we can rearrange it. We know it's less, as you can see. So we know that 1 minus cosine of z is less than z squared divided by 2. So basically, I can say 1 minus z squared divided by 2 is less than the cosine of z. So that's an important one for us. And this, on the contrary, is less or equal than 1, right? So let's keep this one alive in our brain, in our head. And now we're moving further and we're saying, well, how can I rewrite x minus x cubed divided by 6? Well, I'm saying this is equal to an integral from 0 to x 1 minus z squared divided by 2 dz. Am I right? Well, obviously, if I put 0 as a lower boundary, everything disappears. So it's all about the original function. The original function of 1 is z. If I put x, it's going to be x. The original function of z squared divided by 2 is z cubed divided by 6. If I put x, so perfect. Everything is fine. But we proved on the previous page that the expression of 1 minus z squared divided by 2 is less than the cosine of z. So we are here having it less integral from 0 to x of the cosine of z dz. And this one, as we know, is the sine of x, right? The original function of the cosine is sine, put x is x, 0 is 0, we've done it. So we proved that this one is less than the sine. And what did we prove in general? We proved that x minus x cubed divided by 6 is less than the sine of x, which is itself is less than x for x greater than 0. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.